It says it's recording.
Yay!
I'm going to do a silly thing and trust the technology. So, hi guys, welcome back to the Forge. Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Steel. As you can see, we have a guest here, Tia Kennedy, who's here to have a conversation with us. Tia, welcome to the Forge. Would you please introduce yourself and, by all means, plug yourself and your channel and whatever you do?
For sure. So it's Teia Kennedy.
Sorry.
No, everybody does it. Teia Kennedy. And yeah, I mean, I have a YouTube channel that's called Teia Kennedy, and I like to talk about witchcraft. And thank you for inviting me here to talk a little bit more about witchcraft. I'm ready to get into it. It's exciting.
Yeah, me too. We have a bit of a hot button subject, or it could be. It might be fine, or it might be a dumpster fire. Who knows?
You know what? It shouldn't be a hot button topic,
Right.
but it is.
There you go. So what we're actually talking about is masculinity in witchcraft and paganism. What the hell is it, and why do we even use it? Isn't that's a very 90s thing, isn't it?
Yeah. First, I
Like,
want to ask you a question, Chris,
go ahead.
because I think this is an important conversation to have. But what made you want to invite me, like cis woman, to come on and talk about masculinity in witchcraft? Because I mean, I got lots to say, but I can tell you right now, people are going to question, why are you talking to her?
Your definition of the patriarchy,
Cool.
very specifically, because I actually happen to agree.
Cool. So I guess, yeah, for those who haven't seen my videos, I do kind of get on about the patriarchy a little bit, bit of a bit of a thing I like to discuss at times. And the thing I think people sometimes misunderstand is that the patriarchy isn't men. When people are like bitching about the patriarchy is a system. It's a system that was developed that benefits men, particularly benefits white men. And but when you're talking about the patriarchy, you're talking about a system. It's a system of oppression is what it is. And to be really, really clear, it oppresses men just as much as it does women. And I know lots of women who participate in the patriarchy. I don't understand why, but they
Me
do,
neither.
right? They would rather hold on to their little bit of power in the hierarchy and promote patriarchy over
I I think they see it as a path to more power in
yeah.
some cases.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is I've learned how to work the system to my
Yeah,
advantage.
I
So I
know.
don't want to let go of it because I've learned how to work it to my advantage.
Yeah, I think it's the same reason why America still uses the imperial system and flat out refuses to switch over into metric, even though metric is way easier and much more effective. We're just fucking stubborn.
Yeah, I think
It's
and it's it's working for us. It's working for us,
yeah,
and it's working until it isn't, right? And
yeah,
I I think with patriarchy, it's at the point where it isn't working anymore, and maybe we need to look at not contrary to popular belief, looking at installing a matriarchy. It's
no,
completely removing a system that benefits any class of people above any other class of people.
right, right, because
That's what it's
you're just replacing the frying pan with a skillet at that point.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't
I
make
was
a
gonna say a
difference.
matriarchy would be oppressive as well if you aren't a woman.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
mean,
not looking to oppress anybody, right? It's about everybody being equal and everybody having a say and all people in all spaces.
yeah, and I agree. The only critique I would say is it benefits wealthy cis het white men. It doesn't benefit my poor ass.
No, no,
But
but it
it
will
doesn't
benefit
hurt.
you over me,
Right, it hurts
and
me
it will
less.
benefit me over a black woman,
Yes.
right? And it will
And I'm,
probably benefit her over an indigenous woman. Like
yeah,
there's definitely layers to it.
yeah.
There's
The,
layers of privilege within a system of oppression.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree. And we in pagan spaces, I think we use that in places that makes no sense at all. why does my anime have to have a gender?
Yes.
Like, why
Yes,
does my
it's such a dated concept of this idea of things having masculine or feminine
right?
properties or correspondences. I was just going through my Cunningham's book of magical herbs, I think it's called. And like every single herb is
They're all
assigned
gendered.
a gender, a
Yeah,
female or male gender. And I'm like, why? Like, what does
yeah.
that even mean?
Now, to be fair, I'm guilty of this too because I refer to red cedar as he and willow as she. I don't know why. Well, I do. I mean, I do because I read it in the book, probably the same one you were just reading.
Well, and I mean, I think what it boils down to is back in the day, the elders of our witchcraft community were saying, that something being projecting is masculine and receiving is feminine. But now we know in 2023 that receiving can be feminine, but it can also be masculine.
Hmm.
It can also be non-binary.
Yeah.
So again, it's like a dated gender construct that we're applying to things that don't even have gender.
Right.
They're objects.
Yeah.
So why don't we just say it's got projective energy, it's got receptive energy, it's got
Right.
right? Like, call it what you want to call it, like, instead
Why do
of
I have?
calling it masculine or feminine.
Yeah. Why do I have to look at a bunch of crystals and figure out which one's the boy rock and which one's the girl rock? Like that doesn't make any damn sense.
A little bit, right? Or even like our concept of deity.
Yeah.
We want to impose masculine and feminine on deity. And I mean, to be fair, that's historical. Like,
Yes.
throughout mythology, right? Odin is a he, Hecate is a she. But there are lots of
Loki's a he
deities
except when
out
he's
there
not.
that aren't.
Yeah. Loki's a he except when he's a she or a they or a horse.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's just so like in traditional witchcraft, I work with the concept of not the god and goddess. To me, that's too gendered. I work with the witch father and the witch mother, which is still gendered,
Yeah.
but both of them are quote unquote masculine and feminine in their own right. Both of them are creators and destroyers. Both of them are projective and receptive. Do you know what I'm saying? They both like they don't exist in relation to the other,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
They don't like you know what I mean? It's not like, well, that one's receptive and that one's projective, so we're gonna call them mother and father.
Right.
It
So
doesn't like they're just title holders,
yeah.
and the
Like
actual energies themselves are completely separate and completely stand independently.
right. And I agree with that. And like a lot of people, I mean, let's face it, most people, my gateway drug and my doorway into paganism was Cunningham.
Yes.
That I mean, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, right?
Yeah.
And like, so you gotta set the altar this way, and you have to put this in the boy spot and this in the girl spot. I'm like, am I having kids or doing witchcraft? What the fuck is going on here? This is
Yeah.
not a gender reveal party.
And it was funny because when I start, like, exactly, I got Scott Cunningham's Guide for the Solitary Practitioner way back in 1998. And yeah, it was like, what is this? I remember even then going like, this is kind of weird. Like, everything has to be a boy or a girl. Everything has to be masculine or feminine. Like, what's that about? Like, because I had never even, I mean, other than like people or pets, like I had never really encountered this concept of inanimate objects. I mean, yeah, we always call cars and boats she and stuff like that. But I don't know, this idea of like everything must have a gender really hadn't been part of my life. So I was like, this is kind of strange.
Yes. And now my background, it makes a little bit more sense for me when you're talking about inanimate objects and vehicles, right?
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to be a little bit contrary in that I get that it doesn't actually have a gender. But I spent from 2000 to 2007 or 8 in the U.S. Coast Guard, right? And one point where I noticed everybody referred to their assigned ship as in the feminine. Everybody. And sailors have done that for millennia. Now, this does a weird thing. This actually leads into one of the reasons why I actually have a belief in the possibility, but not of ghost ships being a thing. But that's a different conversation. But like,
Let's pulling it back in.
yeah,
But
that's a
here's my
different
question
conversation.
for you.
Hmm?
What vehicles, what tools have masculine gender?
None of them.
None. So, naming our tools, things that we use after women, might be a little bit misogynistic. I know it's meant fondly. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not meant in a like derogatory sense. But when we refer to things that we use to accomplish our tasks in life, it kind of strips away at that feminine.
I would say it depends entirely on what the inanimate object is. If it's a ship, that is a symptom of homesickness.
What I was going to say, I also think it comes from the fact that men like to name things they love after women, predominantly. Not all men,
Yeah,
but majority of men like. Do you know what I mean? When you're like thinking
yeah.
fondly of something, well, it can't be another dude, so it must be a she.
And no one's ever named their car George.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I think so. But also, yeah, I would agree with that. But I think having from personal experience, I think it's mostly homesickness, and there's not the ship doesn't have a name. Well, it does, but it doesn't have a girl's name. Right?
Yeah.
It is typically, well, the cutter I was on was the Alex Haley, which is very much a masculine name. It was
Oh,
named
the
after
USS Destroyer.
the Coast Guard cutter
Yeah.
Alex Haley, which was home ported out of Kodiak, Alaska. So I was very cold for a very long time and very far away from home. So it made sense to me because it was more of a okay, referring to a ship in a feminine, it humanizes this thing that I'm trapped on. And it makes it a little bit more relatable and it kind of makes you care about it more. Now this does a funny thing because how do you like go about bespelling or imbuing any talisman with personal energy? I don't know how you do it, but I do it by, you know, considering it to be have its own spirit
Yeah.
and focusing on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you do that for a couple hundred years to the same object. Do you think maybe it would develop a personality?
Yeah, that's a good point. I could see that. Like, yeah, a ship long term, and you've got lots and lots of people living on it, all referring to it as she,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of loving on it a little bit and creating stories
Yeah.
about it in their heads. And yeah, it becomes a
Yes.
bit of a thought
And
form
that
of itself, right?
yes, and that ship was everybody that's ever served on that, including me, is convinced it was haunted. We're all convinced it was haunted because these. I don't know if you've ever been on a ship or a Coast Guard cutter or anything of the sort.
Like a cruise ship, but that's about it.
Well, a steel watertight door isn't light. This isn't something that the wind can just blow open.
Yeah,
And yet these doors will open and close on their own when there's nobody going through that particular passageway.
that's
Yes,
crazy.
boats rock around in the water. They bob around and people forget to latch them and they swing open, slam. There's a difference between the door not being latched and it rolling to the side and the door just goes wham. Because you
Oh,
can tell that will get your attention really quickly because everything's made of metal and it's sort of like beating on a pot on an upside down pot or a pan with a hammer. It
yeah,
makes noise. So,
yeah, that's great. So here's the question. Is there like a spirit or a ghost inhabiting the ship, or is it like the spirit of the ship itself?
yes.
All of the above.
Mhm. Well, there was there was a what do you call it? I guess you can call it Oh, here's a fun term. It was a wives' tale,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not really a wives' tale, or a wives' tale, or I guess a piece of modern folklore.
Yeah.
The ghost had a name. It was Patterson. Patterson used to be in the Navy because the cutter I was on is a hand me down from the Navy. So it used to be a Navy salvage ship. So the story is, whether it's true or not, I don't know, that Patterson was a Navy sailor who who passed on depending on who you talk to, either he hung himself on the ship or died in the line of duty or died of old age and was still attached to the ship. There's multiple
Multiple demises.
right, multiple ways of what happened, right? But for whatever reason, his spirit got attached to the Alex Haley, which when it was a Navy vessel, and when it got passed on to the Coast Guard, we also inherited a ghost. But the ship itself also had a personality. Like all the machinery and all the passageways that had their own weird, like, I don't know. I call myself energy blind because I never saw Patterson. I heard slamming doors, but that can be caused by anything. So I don't disbelieve in ghosts, but I'm also a bit of a skeptic.
Yeah.
Which is a contradiction, right? But the ship itself has a personality. It will behave a certain way, and it is possible to piss it off. If it doesn't like the person at the helm, it'll let you know. It didn't like me. That's why I was an engineer. I went back down. I went back down to the engine room quick.
You're like, it didn't like me. That's cute. Okay, how did we end up here? Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Well, assigning gender to vehicles.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, like just the idea of assigning gender to literally everything in witchcraft seems, well, never mind dated. It just seems kind of weird when you think about it, because we don't do that necessarily in real life. Yes, sometimes we do, right? Vehicles are typically she, and some people name their phone George or whatever, right? Like sometimes we have little we kind of have fun with it in real life. But my desk doesn't have a gender, my computer doesn't, my ring light doesn't have a gender, you know what I mean, right? But yet in witchcraft, everything has a gender.
It all does. No, does your house?
No.
Okay.
I've never thought about it that way. No. And I don't know if you were to ask me what is it, I don't know if I could tell you. My house is non-binary.
It's fluid, right?
Outside the binary.
I mean, literally, right? Because it doesn't have a gender. No, I would agree. And the property I live on is my grandma's property, right? She's very, very Christian, so she doesn't really consider any of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But funny enough, she doesn't seem to do any of these things that we're talking about, like even like mundanely. If it's a rock, it's a rock, right? It's a very different mindset. So I wonder if maybe is this like, how unique is this to paganism?
That's a good question. I feel like it's pretty unique.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like I've it's not a thing in Buddhism or Judaism, like any of the like Abrahamic religions. It's not a thing in like I'm trying to think of like world religions, and I can't think of a lot that kind of do that.
I don't know of any other denomination of Christianity that does it. And the reason that's why I kind of went is because my dad is an ordained Episcopalian priest.
Oh, wow.
And my stepdad is an ordained Episcopalian priest. My mom has a type. But they're both great people. I have a wonderful relationship with them. And they both know, Chris is a little different. but
a
yeah,
little.
a little bit. So, and I mean, you know whose channels I frequent.
Yeah.
I've seen you in the same chat, so it's mostly Jasmine. Um,
We do stand some Jasmine. I really like.
yeah, we do. But in fact, speaking, we were actually on the same channel at one point. This is actually our second time together.
Yes, we were on the do all witches thing.
Same, yes.
That was really fun. I hope we get to do
That,
it
so do I. I would 10 out of 10 would do again.
again.
But yeah, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, then here's my train of thought. Why? If anybody out there knows the answer, like, why did they want to gender everything? Does that maybe it must come from the occult, right? Because Gardner worked with Crowley
and
you know,
the father of American Witchcraft. What was his name?
I'm thinking it's like from the occult.
Yeah, it was, but they weren't all like witches necessarily. Some of them were just ceremonial magicians.
But I'm like, did he pick up this like gender idea from occultism? Yeah. And then, but like, I guess like the point they were trying to do was about balance. Was that kind of the idea? Like,
I think so. Yeah, and like
balance.
That was like the oh, there's a word I'm looking for, and it's now my brain won't let me have it. That was the construct they used, I guess, because it's what everybody's familiar with it to an extent. Some people more familiar with it than others, and others like have a very black and white view of it, which I don't agree with. But yeah, why that construct?
Yeah, and why this like fear of something being out of balance?
Yeah, balance.
Like you see this where people are like, you know, it's all got to be love and light, and it's all got to be balanced. It's like, why?
The love and light. That's another rant.
That's another video. But right, this idea that things need to be balanced, right? As if something isn't like, well, I don't know, like
balance for you isn't necessarily going to be the same proportions as balance is for me.
Exactly. Right? And I mean, masculine and feminine exist within all of us. I would argue, I mean, even within like non-binary individuals, right? If you want to get like kind of gender technical, I think we all possess, because what society, I guess, is deeming masculine, it is also felt and experienced by feminine people, and what is considered feminine is also experienced by quote unquote masculine people. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's a social construct. It literally doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We just made it up, kind of, right?
Blue, like there's nothing in nature that says blue is for boys and pink is for girls, right?
No, pink used to be for boys in the 1800s.
Yeah, I know. And blue was not considered a color at a certain point.
Yeah.
So like it was and like certain professions were and still are considered man's jobs and women's jobs, and like, but I worship a goddess of blacksmithing, so I kind of thumbed my nose at that whole idea.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking about it earlier, and I'm like, there are women out there, like, that people will say, well, men are larger, like physically, like physiologically, men are large, they tend to be more muscular, etc. So therefore, they're naturally like protectors. But like, I know there's women out there who, no offense, Chris, but would kick your ass.
No offense taken. Right? Most of them are truck drivers.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? Like, there are women out there who are, but the thing is, they don't get a voice in society because they don't adhere to traditionally feminine
These aren't women that,
constructs, so people tend to overlook them, right? When they're like,
yeah,
oh, I need a woman's opinion. Well, I'm not going to ask her because she's not very womanly, right?
yeah. I mean, if she just got out of the cab with Kenworth.
But the thing is, she's just as womanly as I am.
Yeah, yeah,
because she's a woman.
yeah, absolutely.
Like it doesn't like yeah, like do you know what I mean? Like those characteristics have nothing to do with.
Right, I agree, and like it drives me nuts too because I would rather see more women in the trucking industry.
Yeah.
If you normalize it, it becomes less dangerous for them because right now there's
Yes.
women that can do it, but damn, those are some tough women.
Yeah. You kind of have to be to trailblaze
Yeah,
in a very masculine dominated industry. Yeah.
yep. But when you normalize it and it becomes like just normal, like it's not really it's never really safe to drive a truck, but it becomes less dangerous for them by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, and I think that's like when you look at like having equal opportunities, that's what it's about. Like, honestly, am I going to go be a truck driver? No, probably not. But are there women out there that really want to do that? Yeah.
probably.
And why shouldn't they? Right? It's like with the military, right? For the longest time, women like weren't allowed to be part of the like on the ground fighting forces. Why? All those women are tougher than I am.
Yeah,
If
I
they
actually
want a chance, let them
so,
have one.
yes, and I agree with you. However, there is and this is not to say that it's the right way to do it. This is not to say that it's correct, not to say I agree with it, but it's been demonstrated and shown that men who are on deployment and there's women on their squad, if they have a job to do and they have to get the mission done, they will abandon a male team member in order to do it. They're not going to like it, they're going to hate it, but they'll do it. They absolutely will not leave a female team member behind, even to the
But is
detriment of the
that a
mission.
problem with the women, or is that maybe a little problem with the
No,
men?
that's definitely the men's problem.
You know what I'm saying? Like, again, it's like
But
saying, well, girls can't wear spaghetti straps to school because they're distracting the boys. Well, that's the
but
boys' problem, not the girls' problem.
it definitely is. And like again, I'm not saying I agree with it,
Yeah.
but I do understand why the military was hesitant to allow women in it because we know this about men, right? It is a problem with men.
Wait, are you saying there might be a system that's set up to benefit men?
Gosh, yeah, maybe, right?
Oh.
You know, but it's also we've been trained since we were little kids
I
that
was
it's
gonna
your
say,
job. Yeah, it's your job to protect the women,
yeah,
and that actually digs in a lot deeper than a lot of people think until you're in a situation where if you don't leave her behind and get the mission done, everybody's going to die.
yeah.
But yet that same squad will still fight to the last man because it's been ingrained into us so hard that women have to be protected, and it's really fucking sexist.
Yeah.
But this is why we need to change
And I was
societies.
gonna say, the same cultural construct that teaches us that women need to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the reason it's teaching us that women need to be protected is because women are less than men.
Right.
And not all men. There's plenty of very good men out there, but some men take that very much to heart that women are not at like, yes, I need to protect my women. I need to protect women because they're less than, and therefore they are not as deserving as I am. Like it, do you know, like it's like that, what do you call it? It starts to spiral.
I think we call them incels now.
Hot button topic. But it is that idea that like it's just not a healthy way to relate to each other, right?
No,
like,
it's not.
Like men shouldn't be caring for women, and women shouldn't be caring for. We should just be caring for each other, for all humans. I don't care if you're a man, a woman, non-binary, whatever. We should we should care about each other because we're human beings.
Sorry.
Oh, good man.
I'm recording live and now everybody wants to call me. Yes, nobody's called me all month. Now that I'm recording, they want to.
But yeah, that idea that as a society we should care for each other because we are human beings.
Yes.
Not because we're men or we're women or we're whatever, because we're human beings. And we all have inherent worth because we are human beings.
Yes, and I agree with that, which is why I am pro LGBTQ, which is why I'm pro trans rights, which is why I'm pro, Black Lives Matter. This is why I'm pro pretty much anything except for being an asshole. Now I can be an asshole sometimes. Like, by no means am I above that at all.
It's okay. I can be an asshole sometimes too. Yeah, especially when I get on about the patriarchy.
Well, I think we both understand where you are on that one, though.
Yeah, you think? Like clear?
Yeah. We don't seem to disagree too much about it. But I'm sure there's some people that are going to see this videos and really hate it.
There will be, I think, a section of the viewership who will stop watching after I said, let me say patriarchy, and they went, turn it off. Don't even care what you have to say. You're wrong.
Yeah.
You're blaming men for all the evils in your life. And to that I have to say, I'm really sorry that you couldn't sit and listen to the argument.
Yeah.
Sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable, but you made me feel uncomfortable. So that's sort of how it goes.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it's we've also managed to get into a world that if you don't agree with me, I'm not going to talk to you.
Yeah.
And we're not going to learn from each other. We're not going to meet in the middle ground. And blah, blah, blah,
I'm going to make up my own truths.
Yeah.
And la 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 la. I'm not listening to what anybody else says.
You know what? The Earth is flat now because I don't like what science has to say. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Have fun with that. That has been a source of somewhat amusement. They tried to build their own rocket. Didn't go well. It went up. It went up. It didn't go up far enough. It's amusing because it's the amount of intelligence they had to take to get something that would actually get off the ground. Yeah. And then they had to be really stupid enough to get in it.
Oh, there were people in it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He didn't die. He wasn't very happy afterwards, but he didn't die.
Well, that's good.
But, yeah, I don't want to see people getting hurt, but probably not going to do it again.
I think what we're seeing right now with society as a whole is kind of this uprising of it's like that I don't want to say the stupid people, but the people who do you know what I mean? Who are like the Donald Trumps, who are like, I'm just going to make up my own, it's the truth because I said it. And, and they're very, very small, but very vocal minority.
Oh, you mean
and it's like they're recognizing that their time is coming to an end and they're gonna scream and scrape and claw their way out of this hole they've built for themselves the best that they can. And I'm hoping this is their death rattle.
Yeah, and those are the same people that are screaming about having what the hell is it? The word ran away again. Drag Queen Story Hour. And at the same time, they grew up watching Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet they're not going after the Catholic Church who passes pedophiles around like they're friggin' Cracker Jacks.
Yeah.
And is actually harming children. Well, we're not going to do anything about that.
Yeah, well, why would we, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Why would we deal with that mess when we can just go after a group of people who are absolutely doing nothing wrong?
Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah, I saw a meme the other day, and it was all of the different cartoons and movies that have presented men in dresses for comedic effect.
I saw that too.
Disney is huge for it. Even in the time of Shakespeare, men always played women on stage.
Yeah, Midsummer's Night's Dream.
And nobody was screaming about, oh, the children, shade the children's eyes.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally played for comedy in
Right.
cartoons.
Right. All of a sudden, it's a problem.
Yeah, but that's okay. But it's not okay in real life. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Right. No, Mrs. Doubtfire's fine. The Nutty Professor's fine. White Chicks, that was fine, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or Medea.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. But when it's served up for our entertainment, it's okay.
Yeah. But when they were growing up and they were laughing at it, that was fine. That was okay.
Yeah.
But now it's offensive. It's going to hurt the children. You were a kid when you watched that.
Like, ultimately, it's just about control.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
It's a bunch of, pardon me, but old rich white dudes, straight white dudes, who are like, we're losing our grip on the hold that we've held. It's the patriarchy losing their grip on society, and like, this is their death. I really, really hope this is their death rattle, where they're just going to start lashing out and trying to make everything. And people need to vote. And unfortunately, with gerrymandering and stuff, you really need to get out and vote.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, 2020, we had more voter participation than we've ever had.
Really? That's good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But how do you think we got rid of the orange freaking Cheeto?
I don't know. I was just up here in Canada eating my popcorn, watching it go down.
No. You're putting in a polite privacy hedge across the border?
Seriously. Yeah, I had a couple friends down in the States. I'm like, if you need to come visit, you're welcome to stop by.
You know,
but again, right? He was representative of a small but very vocal minority.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people didn't even necessarily agree with him, but they were like, well, I better align myself with him, because the alternative is
having the
scarier. Like, it's scarier to have just equality for all human beings.
Well, that's because the mediocre rich men would actually have to get off their asses and put some effort into it.
Yeah.
In order to maintain what they've got.
Yeah.
And we all know that the mediocre rich men, like fucking Elon Musk, isn't gonna turn a wrench. That motherfucker has not done anything in his life.
Like, I don't think people understand like how much money he has. Like,
yeah.
Like,
what
billions of dollars. Billions. He's richer than most countries. Like, it's insane.
What he lost on Twitter would actually end homelessness in America. Yeah. It's actually enough. Like, mathematically, it works out that, yeah, you could actually house every single citizen in this country who doesn't have a home right now. And people go, oh, well, he bought Twitter. Yay, that's great. No.
That was the government here in Alberta, in Canada, where I live. They just promised, it's this big bailout to oil companies to clean up the messes that they were contractually obligated to clean up in the first place, but some reason the government's paying for it now. And it's in the, like, I think it's in like $20 billion or something. And somebody was like, you guys don't understand how much money this is. Like, if you took every working, so we're excluding children, we're excluding retired people, but anybody who is like of working age in Alberta, and split that money between them, it's over $10,000 a person. Yeah. Like, would you like $10,000, or should we just give it on your behalf to the oil field companies to clean up the mess that they were contractually obligated with penalties to clean up in the first place, but didn't, and now we're going to pay them to do it rather than penalize them?
Yeah. Yeah, and Palestine, Ohio right now, like, I hope they don't do the same thing. I think that is too public to get away with something quite on that scale.
Yeah.
But I don't think that CEO is going to be in jail, even though he should be.
No, they never get their comeuppance. Although Donald Trump might be getting his, so.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. I'll believe it when I see it.
Personally, I saw a TikTok today that said something about it, and I'm like, oh, sweet.
There's rumors that he's going to be indicted this next week or two. I hope so. I really want to see him in an orange jumpsuit. Really
I
want to
just
see.
feel like that would just feel really good in my heart to see that. Like,
Yeah, I just, it makes me feel better to think that maybe right now he's throwing ketchup packets at his walls in Mar-a-Lago.
well, like there's so much fuckery in the world.
Yeah.
And so many people getting away with it so publicly. And to see just one of them, and probably the ringleader of them all, get hit with some level of consequence for his behavior, I think would just go a long way. Kind of like the same, like as with like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, wait, a known like sex trafficker just actually got in trouble for it?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's novel.
Yeah.
So I think like this is kind of
see
that
more.
level where you're like, oh,
It needs
this coming.
this needs to be a rising trend of rich white assholes going to jail.
And like all the ones that you know of, how many do you not like? How many are there that you don't know of? It's like, you know what I mean? When you see a little bit of mold growing on the windowsill, chances are all underneath is all rotten out, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're just seeing it on the surface. So I like it makes me wonder like how much more goes on that people just don't even know about.
Oh yeah. Oh, a lot. A lot. And it's just like, and this is again what you're saying. This is an example of the patriarchy and what it's doing to men. It doesn't just hurt women; it hurts men too.
It really hurts men, and I think that they don't understand that. Like to grow up, and I mean, pardon me if I'm speaking out of turn. I have no idea. I'm a woman, but growing up being told like you can't have feelings.
Right.
You can't wear that color. It's like, ugh. And I mean, even like, you can't be gay. You can't like just this idea that you literally can't be yourself.
Yeah.
Like men are emotional beings.
We're not allowed to be though.
But yeah, like I mean, they're human beings, and we are all emotional beings. But like women are socialized to sit and talk it out. Men are not. Men are socialized to just, I mean, like freaking suicide rates among men are like huge.
And I was looking around online. It's like there's an awful lot. Like what was it? There was a statistic I saw that 1 in 3 women will be attacked. Right.
Mm-hmm. Assaulted. Yeah.
Right. Assaulted. And 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 men will be.
Yeah.
But in the United States, there are multiple women's help centers in every state. Throughout the entire United States, how many men's clinics do you think there are?
Oh, probably none.
There's one.
One. Yeah.
In Alabama. And it's been closed for 2 years because of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can just suck it up. Man up. Just
walk it off. Yeah, walk it off. Well, and the reason being is when men report it, we're not believed, or we get insulted for it.
Yeah.
Or we go, oh well, he must have deserved it.
Yeah.
Or we just get arrested for assault because clearly she was defending herself. Even though no.
Well, and I was going to say, to be fair, women aren't believed when they report either. But men, like, yeah, it's like, how do you sexually assault a man? Men love sex.
Yeah.
Like, you can't assault a man. That's what they want all the time.
Right.
And that's so not true.
No.
Right? Not at all. But like it is. It's this
half the time it's other men anyway doing it. So we're doing it to each other. I think that's probably more common for men to assault other men.
Yep.
And it's not really about sex. It's mostly about power and showing dominance, whatever.
Yeah. But men can be assaulted by women.
They can, yes.
I read it. I think it was on Reddit, and it was from a man who was really like struggling because he's like, I can't find anybody who believes me. Yeah. And he's like, listen, I didn't want this. And I said no. He's like, but my body reacts. It's a physiological mechanism. And he's like, I was so out of it that I couldn't
Yeah.
I couldn't stop her. And I think she had did she end up pregnant? I can't remember what happened, but right. And he's just like, this is like, oh my God, this is my worst nightmare. And like, it happens to men too, even in like heterosexual ways. Like, it's just,
It
and
does.
again, yeah, men are like, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it, man. Don't be weak. Walk it off. You're fine. And that's not a helpful narrative for any human being.
No. I mean, we got a little off topic, but not really off topic, are we? Like,
Oh, we've been everywhere.
I mean, it's kind of related though, ain't it? Like this concept of gender. Yeah, it's a problem in witchcraft, but it's a problem. Period.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. And to be clear, like, well, I don't, yeah, like masculinity, femininity, I don't think personally to me, they don't have a place in witchcraft. Men do. I think men absolutely have a place, as do our non-binary and trans friends. Like, I think there's a place for every human being in witchcraft. Yes. Everybody has something to offer. Everybody has something to share, right?
I think, like we were talking about off camera before we started recording, and realized that we probably should hit the record button. It is my opinion that there are as many genders as there are people on the planet.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Because really, yeah, gender doesn't exist. So really, every single person is unique in and of themselves. And I mean, it's helpful to be able to, like, as a species, we like to categorize and organize things. And it is helpful to have boys and girls. But it's come to a place where it's like we won't recognize anything in between or other.
Right.
And that's when it becomes a problem, when you become so dependent on your system of codification that you just refuse anything that doesn't fit into this box or this box. And that's where we're at.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch? Like,
yeah, that's like a whole another good witch versus bad witch.
Yeah.
The white and black binary, like,
oh yeah,
again, like none of it is a helpful narrative, and there are so many ways to express the exact same sentiment without having to bring gender into it.
Yeah, left hand, right hand, ambidextrous.
Yeah,
which is about where I'm at.
Projective, receptive, hot, cold, just any of like.
Yeah.
Right? But like really, that's all it is. Masculine and feminine are just a container that holds a whole bunch of other adjectives, right?
You
so
could
just
even
use those adjectives.
You could even go like a north or south witch, right?
Yeah.
Like magnetism, north magnet, south magnet, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm west.
You're west.
I what is it? I shun your north-south binary. I am west.
South by southwest.
Yeah, totally right. But that's just it. I think there are just as many genders as there are compass points. Like,
yeah,
it goes round and around and around. There's like, and it's just not a helpful way. And again, I really wonder, maybe I should have done a little bit more research before I came to talk to you, but I really do wonder, like, what was the original intent of that?
I think it was to make it, well, it's a fertility religion, right?
Yes, can be, yes.
Yeah. So maybe that's why they went with that. They got stuck on a theme.
Yeah.
And they railroaded themselves, I think.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, and see, I don't celebrate a fertility or an agricultural cycle. I live in the city. That doesn't make sense to me.
No.
I celebrate a mystery. I have like a mystery cycle.
Yeah, I'm not Wiccan anymore.
Yeah.
I like, respect, and appreciate Wicca.
For sure.
I've never met a Gardenarian I didn't like.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, there are definitely Wiccan covens out there that do not work with a gender binary.
Right.
That have given that up and said that doesn't work in 2023. That's not how we're operating. Right. To be fair, like I'm not trying to say like, oh, all Wiccans.
Yeah, no, it's not all of them. It's the ones that are still reading Scott Cunningham.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's still there's a lot of like
just found it.
a lot of new practitioners, right, who like read a book and go, well, that's the way it is, and it's like, no, it doesn't have to be.
No.
And like, I never, like, it was funny, like, it never sat well with me, so I never really used it in my practice, but I've seen other people who did, who had like that aha moment where they're like, wait, I don't have to do this. It doesn't have to be like this. What?
Yep.
Ooh, my dog's having a little freak out.
Uh-oh.
Luna, it's enough.
Yeah, like, and there's oh boy, they yeah, there's a better way of doing it. I don't do the Wicca thing anymore. Well, actually, there's pieces of Wicca that got stuck. And I like I'll cast circle around the forge.
Yeah.
I don't call corners anymore because I have too many elements that I work with. Like I don't work with just 4. I work with the original 4, but I also have wood and metal as elements in my craft too. So like you can't really call quarters with that. Corners maybe you can make a pentagram out of it, or a dodecahedron or whatever the hell you want to do.
But I know what you're saying. Like it's not the standard. Like I've got 4.
Right. Yeah, so it's a little odd. So I don't call corners.
Yeah.
But I definitely cast circle.
Yeah.
And I used to call quarters. Then I went, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense to me anymore. Not only does it not make sense, like the gender binary thing is a little weird. Like, okay, is iron male or female? I mostly work with metals and metal magic and witchcraft, and like, is iron male or female? Like, that's silly.
I'm sure you could look it up and the book would tell you.
Well, its alchemical symbol is the same as masculine symbol. So
the same thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing that has any kind of like. It's a picture. It's a symbol. It's a freaking. It's a sigil, if anything.
Yes. Well, and it's the planet Mars.
Yes, it is. Yeah, those 3 are all the same, and I think copper and Venus, and the symbol for female, are all the same.
Yeah.
So like those 2, okay, those are easy, right? Fine. If you really want to go with it. What about
but it does. It takes you almost down a little rabbit hole, right? Like
yeah, it does.
Like I have lots of herbs and stuff and like plants that I forge locally that don't show up in Cunningham's book, that don't show up in Llewellyn's correspondence book.
What if you're Australian? Those herbs are like, wait, this doesn't work at all. Now, to be fair, who doesn't love eucalyptus? But like, it just smells nice. Like, but we can't get it fresh up here.
No. Eucalyptus? No.
Yeah, no. And I don't want eucalyptus. And if I want anything from Australia, I want Tim Tams because we can't get them in the States.
Are those like biscuits, like cookies?
Yeah, that little biscuit cookie things.
Yeah.
But my friend Iska, who lives in BC, sent me a box. That's the only reason why I know. So
I've never had them.
No. So yeah, she and I did a food exchange. We did a food swap.
Me and Jasmine are talking about doing that.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. I am mad at Canada for not sharing poutine.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it is. She sent me y'all's gravy.
Yeah, you have to have just the right like gravy mix for it, and you have to have like cheese curds.
Yeah, I know. I had like it was the closest thing I could get down here because I don't live in Wisconsin is like Parmesan cheese, not Parmesan. Oh, for fuck's sake. It's not cheese curds, but it's like half a step away from cheese curds. So
I feel like I know what you're talking about, but I can't like remember.
Yes.
It starts with an R, doesn't it? Does it start with an R?
Ricotta? Not ricotta. It's almost ricotta.
Ricotta is what you put in lasagna, and then you substitute cottage cheese when you can't afford ricotta.
Right. Yes, ricotta. But it was a real Canadian gravy.
Yeah.
And I now understand why Canadians are always so nice because y'all have beaver tails.
You mean like the pastry?
Yes. I would be very nice too if I had that. Although apparently you don't have funnel cake.
No.
No? See, that makes me sad for you.
No. We have lots of like fun things, but yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of like I've come down to the States, and even the things that are the same aren't the same.
no.
Our peanut M&Ms don't taste like your peanut M&Ms.
No, and your Smarties are different, aren't they?
Yeah, Smarties are chocolate. They're kind of like an M&M, but
Yeah, your Smarties are like M&Ms, but and you have Smarties, but you
we
call
call them
them
Rockets.
Yeah.
I love Rockets. Are like, oh, they're like mine to die for. They're just straight sugar. I love them.
Actually, I used Canada spoiled me with their coffee crisp bar.
Oh, I love coffee
I
crisp.
cannot have any other candy bar now. I just want coffee crisp.
They're so good. That was the first one I put on the list for Jasmine. I was like,
Oh hell yeah!
Coffee
I'd,
crisp.
I'd be very disappointed in you if you didn't send her a coffee crisp.
I was like, I have to send her a coffee crisp. I have to send her Hawkins cheesies. Don't know if they sent you Hawkins cheesies, but oh my
god. Ketchup chips?
And ketchup chips, yeah. Mm-hmm. And she wants all dressed chips too. And I'm like, meh, just get the ketchup. But she's like, no, I want all dressed. Because my friend said they're good. So I'm like, all right, girl, I'll send you some all dressed too.
I'm sure you have like the prepackaged Beaver Tails.
I don't know. I've only ever seen them at like festivals and stuff.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking about food. We're supposed to be
just
God, we're all over the place. Yeah. But that's all right. Whatever. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm like ADHD brain, so like I can connect anything to anything.
Yeah, me too. Me too, really. Like, it's just, but I don't know. I don't like doing videos by myself well, I do, but it's nice to have somebody to chat with and shoot the shit. And,
These are, and it's funny because these are like my favorite kind of videos when people just sit and like chat, and then it's like you kind of watch and like you feel like you're kind of like part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And you can just put them on and listen to them while you're like walking the dog or whatever. Like you don't have to like sit and watch.
Oh yeah, like oh god, Wine and Witchcraft, the last one around. Holy shit! What a
that was their high one, right?
Oh yeah, well they weren't high. I think they were drinking a little bit, but
oh no, they all took edibles before they did it.
Oh, I did not know that.
They talked about that at the beginning. Yeah, everybody had an edible before they started.
Man.
And then they were all drinking. So yeah, it was.
Oh, that explains everything. But
yeah, because it was like that show is like, I mean, I love that show, but it's always a little off the rails. But it was like the train was off the track that night. I was like, what are you guys doing?
But that's not we're not talking shit on them. We love it. I love it.
No, it was very entertaining.
Yes, it was. And that was one of those where I just put that on while I was pounding steel. So like I will do that. Anytime we have like there's like that type of a podcast or a recording or whatever, or even if it's a live, like half the time, if I'm not saying anything in the chat, I'm probably hitting a piece of very hot steel with a hammer at the same while I'm listening to it.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I'm usually doing something else when I'm watching videos because again, ADHD, I can't sit still and just watch.
Yeah, me neither.
Gotta like.
I also have CRS. So.
What's that?
Can't remember shit.
I have that too. Oh, that was awesome. I walked right into that one. I'm like, oh, story. Tell me about this affliction.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we probably need to wrap this up.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because I'm running out of things to keep me on track. So this is thank you for coming on, and
thank you for having me. This was really fun, and like it's fun to just sit and chat.
Yeah, it was, and it was great to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. Well, again, technically, but like that, we couldn't really get the chance to like chat and shoot the shit. So
yeah.
But anyway, definitely appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you wanted to plug before we go?
No, just come check out my channel. It's Teia Kennedy on YouTube, youtube.com/TeiaKennedy, I think.
Yeah. Guys, go check her channel out. Go watch it. And go watch Jasmine's recording of Do All Witches Think the Same, because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's where we met.
Yep. That's actually how I found your channel.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Right. But anyway, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
We'll probably see you in the chat on Jasmine's channel at some point.
Definitely.
All right. Later.